Let's talk about tracers. Tracers are a special type of bullet that have a pyrotechnic charge in the back. They usually have a tip painted either orange or red. And what they do is they trace the trajectory of fire. So you load them into a belt of ammunition so that when the tracer goes, you have a bright red beam that marks the trajectory of your shots, which is particularly useful for our machine gun teams because they're usually rattling off like 5 to 10 rounds of a belt-fed ammunition. There's a lot of recoil, there's a lot of movement. It is helpful to have that extra assistance so that their assistant gunner or their team leader can help adjust fire and get it on target with the enemies. Now, the tracer doesn't just start right out of the muzzle glowing bright red. It actually takes about 50 to 100 meters to ignite. So there's a little bit of space, so it's not bright red in your face. It takes a little bit of time, and then it will burn out at about 800 meters, give or take, depending on the cartridge, but 800 meters is a good rule of thumb. So if you're shooting at really extended ranges, the tracers may not get you all the way there, but it's still a lot more useful than not having it for both night operations and daytime stuff, because they burn very, very bright. Very useful to have. But as the old adage says, tracers work both ways. And if you can see the bright red going out, the enemy can probably see that bright red coming towards them. So they can use that to identify where your key weapon systems are and return fire and get targets on that stuff. So we want to make sure that we're not completely overdoing it with tracers. There's a reason we don't load up our whole belt full of tracers. Typically what you do is you have tracers loaded at a 4-to-1 ratio as shown here, where we have 4 normal rounds, armor piercing, whatever you need, and then 1 tracer. 4 normal rounds, 1 armor piercing. And that lets you have maximum lethality of whatever duty ammunition you need. And then that 5th round is that tracer to help you spot your targets, right? So it lets you get, figure out where your rounds are going, but not every round is lit up. Usually in one belt, you're going to have, or one burst of fire, 5 to 10 rounds, you're going to have 1 or 2 shots that light up, which makes it a little bit harder for the enemy to identify where it is that you're shooting from, but gives you the ability to still spot your rounds as best you can. And of course, if you want to do it like full blackout, you can take out those tracers so that you're not giving your position away at all. While tracers are typically best used for belt-fed machine guns, they do still have a bit of utility at the individual team and squad levels, even if you don't have the machine guns, even if you're just using normal rifles. So the first technique is that you give all the tracers to the leadership, the team leader, the squad leader, so that when they shoot at something, everybody can see where they're shooting. So it's used kind of as a way to show everybody where you want them to shoot, and everyone can follow the tracers and shoot at that same spot. You could have a dedicated magazine to do this, or you just have all of their ammo be tracers if you want to do it like that. That naturally could be, that role could be filled with, like, you could have a laser or a white light to do that, but it is a technique that people use in order to use your tracers at that level. Another way to do it is that you give tracers to everybody and you put them at the very bottom of your magazine, basically like 5 rounds from the bottom, so that when you're shooting your rifle, when you get down to the bottom, you see that tracer and you know, oh, I have 5 rounds left, so that you're not caught off guard by running empty on that magazine. I've also seen guys do the inverse, where they put the tracer at the very, very top. So after they reload, everybody knows that, oh, when you see a tracer go off, that's, you know, Bill over there just got his rifle up and he's back in the fight. I think that last one is a little bit silly because, you know, rifle fire is not exactly subtle. You know, like it's going to be pretty obvious when somebody reloads and they're back in the fight, because they will start shooting, and you should probably be able to hear that they are shooting. You don't need a tracer to do that. Now, one caveat to all this, as we talked about in the previous video, if you're planning on doing really close, tight stuff, like kind of like what I've set up here, don't forget that tracers have an initial dwell time before they actually fully ignite. So if you're planning on doing room clearing, if you're planning on engaging people in alleyways where you're engaging them at 25, 30 meters, you're not giving your tracers enough time to ignite. So the tracer probably won't be visible. You'll probably end up engaging targets, and then maybe if the rounds are bouncing around, you'll see them fizzle off to the side. But typically you need at least like 50 to 100 meters to get that really bright tracer ignited, but it can still be useful. Just more techniques for you guys to add to your toolkit of knowledge.